All right, let's kick things off with a little thought experiment. Imagine you're about to drive across the country. Your entire trip, its success really depends on the map you're using, right? So what do you pick? A paper map that was printed once, maybe a year ago, or a live, real-time GPS? Well, in business, that journey is your financial plan. So let's figure out the best way to navigate it.
For decades, the go-to tool was the annual budget. And you can think of that as the old school paper map. Yeah, it's detailed and a ton of work goes into making it, but the second you hit an unexpected detour or a brand new highway opens up, it's already out of date. The rolling forecast, on the other hand, that's your live GPS. It is constantly updating your route based on what's happening right now, making sure you are always on the fastest, most efficient path to get where you're going.
And that really gets to the heart of the problem with that old paper map approach. I mean, think about it. The traditional static budget, it often becomes pretty much useless almost immediately. A new competitor pops up, a supply chain gets totally disrupted, or maybe a marketing campaign just goes viral, and boom, suddenly that plan you spent months perfecting is nothing more than a historical document. It's not a guide for the future anymore.
So, how do we fix this? It's pretty simple, actually. We upgrade our navigation system. It is time to formally introduce this live GPS, the rolling forecast. It is the modern, agile answer to planning for your business in a world that, let's be honest, just refuses to stand still.
You know, at its core, a rolling forecast is actually beautifully simple. It really just does two key things. First, it keeps a consistent view into the future. So instead of your view getting shorter and shorter as the year goes on, you're always looking, say, a full 18 months ahead. And second, it's continuous. This is a living, breathing document, not some one-and-done event.
So how does that continuous part work? It's a simple little add and drop system. When January is over, you lock in those results as actuals and you drop it from the part of the plan you're forecasting. Then, at the exact same time, you tack a new month onto the very end of your 18-month window. This simple roll forward move totally prevents what people call the fiscal year cliff, where all your planning just screeches to a halt on December 31st.
Okay, so we get what it is, but how does this thing actually work in practice? Let's get into the mechanics of how this loop builds on itself. And to make it really tangible, let's imagine a fictional company. We'll call them Aura Smart Mugs. This right here, this is the engine of the rolling forecast. It's this continuous four-step loop that just runs every single month, or maybe every quarter. Step 1, you collect the actual results from the period that just closed. Step 2, you lock those results and shift your timeline forward, just like we talked about. Now, step 3 is absolutely crucial. You analyze the variance. That's the difference between what you thought would happen and what really happened. And finally, you use that analysis to refine the core assumptions, the drivers of your forecast from here on out. Let's just zoom in on step 3 for a second, because this is where a rolling forecast really earns its keep. This isn't about just reporting numbers. It's about asking the single most important question in business: why? Why did things turn out differently than we expected? So for our company, Aura Smart Mugs, let's say they forecasted $100,000 in sales for January. But when the books closed, they'd actually pulled in $120,000. Okay, great. That's a positive variance of 20 grand. A traditional budget might just note that and move on, but a rolling forecast demands to know why. Was it that new ad campaign? Did a competitor stumble? Did we land some huge unexpected order? The answer to why is literally the key to making your future forecasts way more accurate. And that leads us straight to the strategic payoff. This whole process, it's not just some accounting exercise. It's about turning that raw data from the past into smart, intelligent decisions about the future. This quote from the source material just sums it up perfectly. The whole focus shifts from a backward-looking review of what happened to a forward-looking strategy of, okay, what do we do now? It's all about being agile. It's about reacting to new information in real time to actually steer the business. And this is exactly where we connect that why to a specific action. So if your analysis shows that your material costs were higher than you expected, you don't just make a note of it. You go in and you adjust your cost of goods sold, your COGS assumption for all the future months. Or if you see that customers are taking longer to pay their bills, you increase your days sales outstanding, or DSO assumption, which has a direct impact on your cash flow forecast. See? Every single insight directly refines the model. And the result of all this is a fundamental, game-changing shift in the role of the finance team. They're not just scorekeepers anymore, reporting on last quarter's game. They become true strategic partners. They're the ones operating the company's GPS, giving everyone the insights they need to navigate the challenges and jump on the opportunities that are coming up ahead.
So, let's bring this all home. How do you make sure that your rolling forecast is a finely tuned GPS and not just a more complicated, frustrating spreadsheet?
Well, it really comes down to these core principles. First off, automation is mandatory. You just can't do this effectively in manual spreadsheets, period. Second, you have to enforce a continuous, non-negotiable rhythm, a cadence of locking, shifting, and analyzing. Third, your forecast has to be built on real business drivers, things like customer conversion rates or production capacity, not just subjective guesses. And finally, that variance analysis has to be used like a diagnostic tool to find the real root cause of why you were off.
Which brings us to our final question for you. I want you to take a hard look at your own organization's planning process. Is it designed to give you a crystal clear picture of what's already happened, like looking in a rearview mirror? Or is it a clean, expansive windshield, helping you see the road ahead so you can navigate whatever comes next? Because that choice, it determines your entire journey.